Single mom's desperate message reveals a hidden connection. Then an incredible millionaire shows. Lily's hands trembled as she wiped down the counter, the last few patrons talking quietly about their day. They had no idea about the storm brewing inside her. Tomorrow was the first of the month again, and with it yet another rent payment looming. She looked out the window at the darkened street, the wood-paneled diner glowing with a stark fluorescent light, illuminating her cluttered thoughts. Noah, her bright-eyed son, had dreams as expansive as the galaxy, but she was afraid her dwindling paycheck would limit those dreams to mere fantasies. She typed furiously on her phone, a desperate message to her estranged father. "I need help. I don't know what else to do." She pressed send and felt the knot in her stomach tighten, uncertainty gnawing at her. Returning home, she embraced the emptiness of her small house. Bills stacked high on the kitchen table whispered threats of impending doom. She remembered her own aspirations, a college degree, a life filled with hope and promise, choices that had been snatched away by life's cruel hands. Was this it? Would her son inherit her nightmares? She felt each burden weighing on her, the expectation to keep afloat, the fear of disappointing Noah, the doubts about whether she could indeed mold his future. With every waking moment, darkness seeped into her resolve. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the sun stretched across the sky with feeble rays of dawn, a small sliver of hope found its way into Lily's heart. The community meeting beckoned like a fortress of respite, a place to unburden her heart. Standing in front of her neighbors, her voice wavered as she spoke. When she finished, silence enveloped her like a favorite old sweater. It was Marcus, the wealthy philanthropist with a sharp suit and an even sharper focus, who stepped forward, offering her a job. Her blood rushed with disbelief, excitement dancing with fear. But was she trading one set of burdens for another? Marcus's kindness contrasted sharply with the surging memories of her father's abandonment. A friendship bloomed, their shared stories intertwining yet pulling them in opposite directions. Each laughter laced with a tension she couldn't shake off. Every memory he shared felt like a mirror, reflecting the choices that haunted her. But just as hope stirred, an unexpected chill enveloped her heart. She stumbled across an old family photo that unveiled a sinister connection between her family and Marcus's dynasty, one that edged toward betrayal. Anger and fear coiled within her. How could her choices bring her to this moment? She wrestled with her newfound bond and the betrayal in her past, breaths coming irregular as the weight of this shocking discovery flooded her mind. How would she confront Marcus? If every thread she weaved into her son's future was now irrevocably tangled with her darkest memories, was there any way forward? The anger surged like a tempest, clawing at her resolve. Drawing a deep breath, she faced the unease head-on. This was more than a story of loyalty. It was a confrontation between the past and a hope for a redeeming future. With her heart aching and fists clenched tight around the photo, she realized this fight for honor was only just beginning. The tension coiled thicker in the air, and as Marcus approached with uncertainty etched upon his features, she understood. Everything was on the line. Their fates entwined, the dawning realization flickered, leaving behind a weight of questions that would haunt them both. What would Lily choose, and at what cost? Anxiety churned within her as she stood at the precipice, ready to confront the storm brewing in her heart. Lily felt her breath hitch as Marcus stepped closer, uncertainty glittering in his eyes like broken glass reflecting a storm. Each heartbeat resonated in her ears, loud with the potential consequences of their intersecting paths. "Lily," he began, his voice soft but firm. "I can explain." But could he? The weight of the photograph pressed against her palm like an anchor pulling her into murky depths. She had to decide if understanding was even a possibility, or if reopening wounds from the past would only lead to destruction, not just for her, but for Noah as well. "You've got a lot of explaining to do, don't you?" she managed, the words emerging harsher than she intended. Fueled by anger, she recognized the familiar edge of desperation creeping back in. "You're connected to my family in ways I didn't even know existed. Do you think that just offering me a job can erase that?" He paused, absorbing her fire. Intrigue mixed with remorse painted his features, a spontaneous painting unfolding before her eyes. "I never wanted you to find out this way. You deserve to hear the truth," he confessed, his dignity evident but laced with inexplicable vulnerability. The sincerity of his tone flickered sparks in her cautious heart. Yet the perfect picture Marcus painted stood irreparably tainted by her family's shadows. "Tell me," she demanded, the fire in her veins now pushing her to the brink. "I need more than just platitudes." Caught off guard by her urgency, Marcus straightened, his brow furrowing with determination. "Your family's past, it's complicated. My family and yours were once close, until a fall from grace ripped us apart. Business decisions, betrayal, it turned into something personal." Lily's mind whirled, flashes of childhood memories intertwining with Marcus's words. The old conversations about family feuds, the whispers of her mother steeped in regret. Yet here Marcus stood, the striking contrast of his life right in front of her, promising some form of redemption despite the gravity of their shared history. "Why should I believe you?" Her defenses kicked up, the walls built around her heart thickening. "You're asking me to trust you after years of darkness, years of neglect." "Because I'm not that version of myself anymore," he countered, his voice coming with an urgency that resonated as if each word held weight and potential. "I've spent my life trying to right the wrongs of the past and learn from mistakes. This job offer is more than just a role. It's a chance to create something new, to rebuild." She wanted to scream, to tear down the notion that their paths could converge for anything constructive. Yet deep down, the raw edges of hope felt enticing. Did she actually have space in her battered heart to embrace the possibility of healing? To train her mind to consider that something good might come of this chaos? Noah's innocent laughter echoed in her thoughts, teasing her resolve. Could she risk this opportunity, not only for her but for him? Could Marcus truly be the instrument of change? The gut-wrenching decisions loomed. Slowly, she began weaving through her uncertainty, searching for clarity amidst the tangled threads of anger, fear, and yearning. A part of her recognized that if she was to navigate the path ahead, she needed to confront not just Marcus's past, but her own, her choices, her fears. Stepping back and gathering her composure, she finally uttered, "If I take this job," her voice softened, the edges rounding as she considered the ramifications. "We need to establish trust. I won't carry those burdens alone." Marcus nodded, comprehension and respect intertwining. "I wouldn't want you to." This signal of alliance sent tremors rippling through her, a blend of apprehension and exhilaration igniting her spirit, where moments ago only shadows lingered. Yet with every hope awakened, she felt shadows from their pastes still loom behind, whispering reminders of consequences. As they stood on the precipice of this fragile connection, the stakes had never been higher. The unknown beckoned, as did the learning that needed to unfold. Could trust rise from the ashes? In that moment, Lily realized that the personal battle had only just begun. The ocean of possibility awaited her, but so did the tempest of doubt. Would she sink, or could she finally touch the stars for both her and Noah? The next chapter of her life was bound to hold monumental choices, and as the clock ticked, uncertainty remained thick in the air, primal and intense. What lay ahead would demand her strength, and as she clung to hope, she braced for the storm she now recognized as the price of growth. Lily took a step back, her heart racing as the weight of her decision loomed like an unspoken specter. The photograph still burned. In her palm, a bitter reminder of the betrayals she had experienced. Yet, as she looked into Marcus's eyes, she felt off balance, as though he held a key to something bigger within him, a key she needed to understand if she was to unlock a future beyond pain. "Trust needs to be earned," she said firmly, words slicing through the tension between them. The resolve in her voice sent a jolt through her, solidifying her grasp on this newfound opportunity. It wasn't merely about accepting a job. It represented an opportunity to confront both legacy and personal agency. "Absolutely," Marcus replied, the gravity of her words settling around them. "I won't let you down. We'll work together to redefine our narratives, both individually and as a team." The idea stirred something deep within Lily, a flicker of excitement that felt almost foreign. She had spent years battling her own darkness, shielded by routines and responsibilities. A new role could mean a fresh beginning, but it also peeked into the fragile realm of vulnerability. Could she really work alongside him, knowing the history that intertwined their families? Lily allowed a moment of introspection, her thoughts racing. This was more than a professional pivot. It was a test of her character and choices. The emotional baggage she carried threatened to weigh her down, but there was a pulse of determination building inside her. She needed change, not just for herself, but for Noah, an environment where her son could thrive without the suffocating shadows of her past. With newfound clarity, she said, "What are the first steps? How do we get started?" The question rolled off her tongue with a focus she felt she hadn't possessed in years. She was ready to reclaim her narrative, embrace the uncertainties ahead, and lead with confidence. "I'll arrange a meeting next week," Marcus responded briskly. "We'll outline objectives, our vision for the company, then tackle any hurdles head-on. You'll bring a fresh perspective that could really reposition our strategy." Lily nodded, feeling a sense of purpose washing over her. Each incremental step would involve exploration, not just of her professional capabilities, but of her emotional tenacity. She was acutely aware of the risk involved. Transparency could expose her vulnerabilities. Yet building trust would escalate their connection beyond shared history. But as she released herself from that exchange, another layer of doubt churned within. Questions flooded her mind like a tumultuous sea. Was Marcus genuinely sincere beyond his polished facade? What would happen if they discovered more than just professional alignment? Could they redefine their past without letting it encircle their futures like a thief in the night? These questions ignited a different kind of apprehension, one laced with potential. She felt caught between the threads of hope and skepticism, each tugging at her heartstrings and pulling her in opposing directions. As she moved to leave, the low hum of her internal dialogue built momentum. The stakes felt high, but the prospect of change glittered like a lighthouse guiding her. Through the fog of uncertainty, she was on the precipice of both professional development and emotional renewal, a surreal crossover point where past pain could collide with future promise. With every step away from Marcus, she mulled over the mingling complexities of trust and apprehension. Shadows of the past still loomed, yet she couldn't help but acknowledge a tantalizing sense of freedom brewing amongst the uncertainty. It was in this crossroads of opportunity and fear that she resolved to face her next challenge head-on. How could she draw boundaries that allowed for growth yet maintained defenses against potential heartache? As she breathed in the crisp air, invigorated by a mix of anticipation and restraint, Lily knew she was on the brink of something transformative. But the question nagged at her ever so persistently. Was she ready to dismantle the walls she had carefully constructed, or would she succumb to the safety of the shadows? The time had come to face decisions that could either solidify her growth or let her subside into a familiar darkness. What awaited her when the past inevitably came knocking? Lily's resolve strengthened as she stepped into her home, the door clicking shut behind her like a protective barrier against the outside world. She glanced at the stack of unwashed dishes in the sink, the clutter of toys scattered across the living room floor, the remnants of a life half-lived and overshadowed by fear. Noah's laughter filtered through from his bedroom, a sweet sound that reminded her why she needed to find the courage to face the future. In the stillness of her home, Lily questioned the depth of the choices she had just made. A job with Marcus meant entering a labyrinth filled with possibility and, perhaps, peril. Could she truly redefine her narrative while dismantling the emotional barriers that kept her tethered to the past? The stakes were undeniably high. This wasn't merely about her own trajectory, but also about how her decisions would shape Noah's future. Her mind darted back to Marcus, the way he had looked at her with a mix of respect and challenge. Every part of her was stirred by his promise to rebuild their stories together. Did he realize the weight those words carried for her? Growing up in a family haunted by betrayal had left an indelible mark, and trusting another person, especially someone as intimately linked to her past as Marcus, seemed an insurmountable task. Yet there burned a flicker of determination. She had a chance to construct something new, to create a path that reflected her growing resolve. Nothing would be achieved from a place of comfort. She had to force herself to step out of her self-imposed limits. As she thought of the meeting Marcus had mentioned, anxiety morphed into a quiet anticipation. After putting her belongings down, she made her way to Noah's room. The door was partly ajar, and as she peered inside, she found him diligently coloring a picture of a dragon, his little tongue peeking from the corner of his mouth in concentration. For a moment, all her doubts washed away, replaced by the undeniable bond they shared. It was imperative she succeeded, not just for her, but for him. "Hey, champ," she said softly, entering the room. "What are you working on?" Noah looked up, his face lighting up. "It's a dragon! Can you help me with the colors?" His innocent enthusiasm infused her heart with warmth. "Of course! Let's give that dragon the best colors ever," she replied, settling beside him. As they worked together, each stroke of the crayon became a kernel of hope, fueling her fortitude. But underneath the surface of this moment, a trembling uncertainty lingered. If she were to embrace vulnerability, how would she protect herself if it backfired? Once they finished their masterpiece, Lily found herself lost in thought, pondering the meeting with Marcus as an embodiment of both danger and opportunity. What if the personal connection they shared complicated their professional dealings? Would they fall into old patterns, or could they actually create something powerful together? As the evening wore on, her initial enthusiasm tugged into a darker contemplation. Standing on the verge of redefining her life, she felt the pulls of her past threatening to drag her back into familiar shadows. The quiet night cradled her worries, wrapping around her like the dark comfort of a favorite blanket. Yet she couldn't afford to yield to those feelings. She had no choice but to prepare, mentally and emotionally, for the upcoming meeting. With hands trembling slightly, she opened her laptop and began drafting ideas for the meeting with Marcus. The urge to retreat whispered in her ear, but she silenced it, reminding herself of the tenacity that had brought her this far. Such growth would require grit, fortitude, and an unwavering commitment to her evolving sense of identity. With a final deep breath, she glanced at her reflection in the screen. A woman teetering on the edge of transformation. What lay ahead could either be her redemption or another cycle of despair. As she clicked save on her document, resolution washed over her like a tidal wave. This would be a new beginning, and she was ready to own every part of it. The real challenge, however, awaited her. Was she prepared to face the uncharted territories of their shared history? With a lingering apprehension, Lily found herself standing at the precipice of change. The moment Marcus entered her life again, the familiar currents of their past would begin to surge. But what unexpected truths lay ahead? What connections would unravel as she dared to move forward?
The morning sun peeked through the blinds, casting stripes of light across the kitchen floor. Lily moved about the house with a narrowed focus on time management. She had less than an hour to finalize her thoughts before meeting Marcus. The promise of a professional relationship intertwined with their past weighed heavily on her, amplifying every noise, every clink of
A dish, every rustle of Noah's playtime. As she stood at the sink, a cup in hand, the chaos of her surroundings faded into a dull hum. It was as if the world was creating a backdrop to her internal battleground. Could she really navigate this new landscape without surrendering to her vulnerabilities? She took a deep breath, setting the cup down with purpose. After washing her hands, she flipped open her laptop again, scanning her initial notes with fresh eyes. Each bullet point represented an aspect of her vision and skills. It was time to elevate her ideas beyond mere theories and into actionable steps. The pangs of anxiety transformed her thoughts into an electric current, urging her to embrace them rather than hide. She opened a blank document. "Your vision is worth fighting for," she typed, the words resonating within her. This wasn't just about work, it was a declaration of intent. Just then, Noah's voice broke through her concentration as he called out from his bedroom. "Mama, can you come help me pick a color?" His simple request pulled her thoughts back from the precipice. She paused, weighing her ambition against the reality of motherhood. It wasn't an either-or situation. She could integrate both roles. As she entered his room, she felt a shift within her, a growing recognition that her success could benefit them both. Noah held a box of crayons aloft, beaming. "This one for the dragon, right?" "Absolutely. That's the fiercest blue I've ever seen," she replied with a grin, squatting down beside him. As Lily guided his little hand, bright splashes of color emerged on the page, bringing the dragon to life. Their laughter filled the room, effectively blocking the encroaching worries. In that moment, Lily grasped the essence of her duality. She was both a mother and a budding professional, and there was strength in that balance. When the creative flurry settled, they admired the finished artwork, a dragon bursting with color and potential, just like Lily envisioned her future to be. As she prepared to leave for the meeting, a twinge of dread gripped her. Memories of Marcus flooded her mind, moments shared laced with disappointment and unresolved threads. Would he still see her as the lost girl from their past, or could he recognize the woman she was becoming? Lily steeled herself and exited, determination propelling her forward. Each step felt heavy yet exhilarating as she drove to the designated cafe. The faint hum of city life surged through the car window, filling the silence with promise. She parked, taking a moment to breathe deeply, mentally rehearsing her plans. The vivid colors of the dragon came to mind, a reminder of her commitment to create and innovate. But what if Marcus perceived her ambition as naive? Inside, the cafe buzzed with energy, an ambiance that sparked a sense of belonging lost to her for years. She spotted Marcus in a quiet corner, looking expectant but relaxed. The sight of him ignited memories. But today, she sought clarity and resolution above all. "Hey, Lily," he said as she approached. His familiar smile offered warmth, but beneath it swirled a current of tension. "Hi, Marcus," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. This was her moment, time to strip away the layers of fear and reach for what she wanted. The groundwork for a new connection, both professional and personal, was laid. But could they erect something strong enough to withstand scrutiny? As their conversation began, Lily could sense the familiar tides of their history simmering beneath the surface, threatening to disrupt the harmony she hoped to establish. Would they cling to the past, or could they create a foundation for something transformative? The air hummed with unspoken tension, clamoring to be acknowledged. As they launched into discussion, she challenged herself to lean into the uncertainty, embracing the thrill of building anew. But questions loomed in the background. How deep did Marcus's ambitions go? Was he as prepared for a partnership as she was? Lily weighed her options, knowing that the stakes had never been higher. The world was unfurling before her, But as the past began to unveil itself in small fragments, she understood that confronting it might be just as vital as the steps forward. What would unfold in this new alliance, and would it claim more than she was willing to offer? With resolve, she embraced the moment, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. But as she prepared to dive deeper, a part of her held on to the whisper, what if this was only the beginning? Lily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over her like a blanket. The conversation began with the mundane, updates on local projects and community events, but each word brought her closer to the harder truths she needed to confront. She had spent too long buried in the shadows of her past with Marcus. Now there was no room for hesitation. "Your ideas on community engagement resonate with me," Marcus said, his tone both curious and critical. "But how do you plan to turn them into something tangible?" His question ignited a surge of determination within her. "I've been brainstorming ways to create workshops that not only draw participation, but also foster genuine engagement. Imagine a series of creative sessions where individuals can channel their talents into community art projects. It's not just about creating art, but about building connections." She watched Marcus's expression shift. The interest he had shown earlier now flickered with skepticism. "But do you really believe the community will invest in that? People are focused on survival, not art." The doubt in his voice stung, but Lily refused to back down. "Art has always been a vehicle for healing and connection. Just because it seems lavish doesn't mean it lacks value. We have to start somewhere." Her voice gained strength, infused with the passion she had discovered during her time with Noah. For the first time in their meeting, Marcus leaned back, his guard lowering slightly. "Okay, what's your timeline?" "Within 6 months, I want to start with a pilot program. I can engage local artists, leverage social media for promotion, and bring in sponsors. It's a calculated risk, but it's worth taking." He nodded thoughtfully, the tension between them shifting towards potential collaboration rather than rivalry. This was unexpected, yet invigorating. For the first time since their reunion, Lily felt the embers of hope flicker in her chest. "Let's say I'm on board," he replied after a moment. "What's the next step?" Planning together felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. They coordinated responsibilities, budget considerations, and targeted outreach. Each suggestion sparked ideas, each question ignited creative solutions. Lily had to remind herself that this wasn't just about rebuilding rapport with Marcus. It was about establishing a foundation for her ambitions. Days turned into weeks as they sketched out plans. Lingering doubts occasionally crept in. Would Marcus truly commit? Could he accept her as an equal if their project gained traction? She couldn't afford to second-guess herself. With every meeting, she discovered aspects of her personality she had long buried: confidence, strategic thinking, resilience. Yet the past lingered like smoke in their discussions. There were moments when they would lock eyes, and she'd feel an unsettling mixture of nostalgia and apprehension. They had a history intertwined with shared disappointments, and she could sense it waiting to unravel at any moment. At the end of a particularly intense brainstorming session, Lily found herself staring out the cafe window, lost in thought. "What happens if we actually succeed?" Marcus asked, his voice cutting through her reverie. "I'll finally feel like I did something meaningful," she replied, her heart racing. "This can be a turning point, not just for me, but for our community." He seemed to consider this, a hint of a smile creeping onto his face. But before either could revel in the moment, a text buzzed on Lily's phone, jolting her back to reality. It was an update from her mother. The anxiety in the message was palpable. "We need to talk." The words sent a jolt of panic through her. Had she really left old wounds unanswered? How would she reconcile her present progress if her past came crashing back in the form of familial strife? As she met Marcus's gaze, she felt the gravity of her decision weighing down on her. Taking the leap into this new project while grappling with unresolved family issues felt daunting. Could she hold everything together, or would they end up fracturing under the pressure? With her heart pounding, she realized one thing. The moment of truth was approaching, fraught with complications and potential breakthroughs alike. Would she emerge stronger or be consumed by the chaos that awaited her? The air was thick with anticipation, and as Lily contemplated her next steps, she understood she was on the cusp of a pivotal decision that could change everything for her and Noah. What awaited her in this confrontation with her mother, and how would it intertwine with the new beginning she was crafting with Marcus? Lily stared at her phone, heart racing as uncertainty gripped her. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, "We need to talk." She had wanted to believe her mother would be proud of her for taking the initiative with Marcus, for pursuing something that could genuinely ignite change. But now she feared facing the disappointment and disappointment that had clouded so much of their past. "Are you okay?" Marcus's voice brought her back to the present, grounding her momentarily. "Just family stuff," she replied, attempting to mask her anxiety with a forced smile. The tension in the air was palpable, thickening as they both sat in that little cafe, a sanctuary that had transformed into a pressure cooker for her unresolved emotions. "Do you want to take a break? We can regroup later," he suggested, instinctively picking up on her distress. "No, I can't. I won't let this derail us." A surge of resolve pulsed through her. It had taken too long to uncover the parts of herself that were hungry for expression and creativity. She wouldn't allow fear of familial chaos to undermine her ambitions. "Let's keep going." As the conversation shifted back to their project, Lily spoke with newfound determination. She meticulously laid out ideas for local artists' participatory workshops, emphasizing their potential for bridging divides. Marcus listened intently, and for the first time she saw a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. It sparked something in her, a flicker of belief that perhaps they could build something solid together. The meeting ended with a commitment to allocate resources for their project within the next few weeks. But still, Lily's thoughts drifted back to her mother's message. Maybe it was time to confront the ghosts that lingered in her family's past. While she had spent years restructuring her identity in her own mind, she realized she had left her relationship with her mother largely untouched. Days passed, and the tension with her mother loomed larger. She finally mustered the courage to call her. The moment her mother picked up, she felt the weight of their histories crashing over her. "Hi, Mom," she started, the knot in her stomach tightening. "I got your message. What did you want to talk about?" "It's about your father," her mother said, voice quivering. At that moment, old resentment shifted to a glimmer of understanding. The past was like a ghost, haunting every fiber of their relationship. Lily braced herself. "What about him?" "We need to discuss things you don't know, things from that time." Her mother's tone shifted, filled with long-held secrets that had unwillingly kept them apart. "What do you mean? What secrets?" Rage and confusion battled within her, thoughts of her blossoming project slipping away as she concentrated on the betrayal that had woven itself into their past. "I never wanted you to go through what I did. I thought separating you best, but it's time you knew the truth," her mother replied, and in her voice Lily sensed a raw, harrowing vulnerability. As the conversation unfolded, revelations washed over her like cold water, shifting the narrative of her life once again. With each piece of information, the depths of their shared grief unfolded. Lily knew that she had to confront these revelations head-on, but she also realized she couldn't let this hold her back from her burgeoning partnership with Marcus. By the time she hung up, shaken but empowered, she had a choice to make. She could either lose herself in the pain of the past or harness this emotional upheaval to elevate her present and future. Parts of herself that had been dormant began to awaken. The artist, the visionary, the resilient woman who wanted to create spaces for others to thrive. Determined to merge her personal and professional battles, she thought about Marcus. This project was beginning to feel like more than just a partnership. It was a reclamation of herself. If she could confront her history, surely she could stand by her ideas and push forward. She returned her focus to her plan with Marcus, ready to embrace what lay ahead, united with the strength of her newfound clarity. But as she prepared for their next collaboration, a new concern bubbled to the surface. What if her mother's secrets overshadowed her ambitions? With that lingering question echoing in her mind, she stepped into the following meeting with Marcus, aware of the shadows behind her, but doubting if she could fully shed them. As they sat down, a moment of realization flashed within her. They were not just building a project, she was reconstructing herself. But would the burden of her family's past ultimately crush her newfound dreams? Lily settled into the meeting room, the air thick with anticipation woven with her anxiety. She exchanged tentative glances with Marcus, but the undercurrent of their previous insightful conversations lingered, urging her forward. No longer could she afford to hold back. Today was about transformation, not just for their project, but for herself. As they began, Marcus opened the floor with the updates he'd gathered. "I've spoken to a few artists, and they're already buzzing with excitement for our workshops." His enthusiasm flowed, and she admired how his energy could light up even the fog in her mind. "Great, let's capitalize on that momentum," Lily responded, her voice firm with newfound conviction. She flipped through her notes, her hand steady as she jotted down possibilities for community engagement. Each idea was like an affirmation, each notation stripping away the looming specter of her past. In her mind, the conversation with her mother echoed, a reckoning that had been overdue. The urge to confront her mother's secrets propelled her desire to shape her reality. What if these workshops could forge a way for her to process her past while helping others do the same? That thought galvanized her. It was no longer about avoiding discomfort. It was about feeling it and moving forward. As they delved into logistics, she suddenly noticed a change in how she spoke. Layered beneath her professional demeanor was an unwavering strength. Lily felt a pulse of recognition. This was the voice of the woman who had hidden her creativity beneath a lifetime of expectations. As the discussions unraveled, Marcus leaned closer, genuinely intrigued. "You have a vision," he remarked, the sincerity evident in his tone. "What's pushing you?" Her breath hitched for a moment, the vulnerability of explaining her inner conflict hanging heavily as she weighed his words. But apprehension wrestled with allure, the need for authenticity. Inspired, she decided to reveal a slice of her journey. "I recently had a conversation with my mom about things that happened in our family. It's brought up a lot for me, emotions and thoughts I thought I had buried." The brief silence that followed felt like a weight lifted. "I'm learning that my past doesn't have to shackle my future," she continued, emboldened. "That I can use my experiences to build something meaningful." "Exactly," Marcus nodded, his admiration palpable. "It's what makes your insight so powerful. That emotional depth can create art that resonates with others." Their collaborative energy surged. Each idea they exchanged ignited fresh possibilities, knitting together the threads of their professional goals with her personal revelations. Every time Marcus smiled, she felt a flicker of excitement mixing with her apprehension. Was this partnership blossoming purely from their project, or did something deeper stir beneath the surface? When they transitioned to timelines, Lily felt an urgency to carve out their plan without being encumbered by the emotional weight she was navigating. "Let's set deadlines. We can't afford to let uncertainty hold us back anymore." "Agreed. Action is key," Marcus replied, his tone firm yet supportive. This shared commitment strengthened her conviction. She realized now that her struggle wasn't only internal. It was an integral part of the communal frame they were building. What they created could illuminate even the most ambiguous paths others walked. However, as they drafted their timeline, the thought of her mother drifted back into her mind.
The hidden truths that remained in her family's heart felt like a storm on the horizon, an impending confrontation she had to prepare for. Would the revelations shake her newfound confidence? Yet her resolve fortified. The burden might be profound, but the potential for healing and personal growth was monumental. For the first time, the imagined confrontation didn't feel like a hindrance. It felt like a necessary step of her journey. With each moment spent with Marcus, the project became a tapestry of intertwined aspirations, both his and hers. And as they finalized their plan, an exhilarating thought tugged at her. What if the courage she summoned for her initiatives could also propel her through the messy truth that waited at home? Just as the meeting concluded, she caught Marcus's eye and felt a sudden rush. Could this connection lead to more than just a professional alliance?
Churning beneath the surface were feelings she hadn't yet explored. The question loomed, leaving her both eager and anxious. What kind of risk would it mean for her to intertwine her heart with this new chapter? Lily stepped out of the meeting room, her mind still swirling with the intensity of the conversation. The flicker of excitement in Marcus's eyes lingered with her, threading through her thoughts like a beacon of ambition. Yet, just beyond that light, uncertainty loomed, waiting to entangle her once again. She could feel the familiar tendrils of self-doubt creeping in. Had she really shared enough of her story? Was it too much? She shook her head, reminding herself that vulnerability had been her choice, one she was learning to embrace. It was part of the magic in this partnership, a paradigm shift transforming not just their project, but also the trajectory of her life. As she walked to her car, the weight of what lay ahead settled in her stomach. It was time to confront her mother. She pulled out her phone and checked the calendar. Just a week away. That didn't seem like enough time for the emotional preparation necessary to face the untold stories buried deep within their family. Instead of feeling suffocated by anxiety, she felt a spark of creativity ignite within her. Perhaps it was an opportunity to frame their conversation, like one of the workshops she had envisioned. Not just about art, but about dialogue. What if she and her mother could sculpt their relationship anew through shared truths? Placing the key in the ignition, she began to play through potential scenarios, mentally crafting an approach yet rooted in authenticity. This idea pulled her thoughts back to Marcus. Would he understand the emotional current she was navigating? Did he too have complexities hidden beneath a polished exterior? It made her wonder about the layers he possessed, the dreams and fears that shaped him. Would they share those moments of depth together? Not just in the realm of work, but in each other's personal lives? At that thought, she paused, drew a breath, and let her mind wander through the possibilities. Perhaps the fear of taking risks extended beyond her relationship with her mother. It was part of opening herself up to Marcus, a potential partnership that could blossom into something more. The reality of that prospect felt daunting. But what if, by stepping outside her comfort zone, she could be rewarded with deeper connections? The following days were a whirlwind. She worked on timelines, community engagement, and workshop outlines with Marcus, buoyed by his unwavering faith in her abilities. Each time he praised her insights or encouraged her to delve deeper into her own experiences, it made her feel as if she were peeling back another layer of herself. By the end of the week, she had poured out her heart within their plans, binding her emotional journey to their creative vision. But the impending conversation with her mother loomed larger as the date approached. Each glance in the mirror felt like a countdown, mirroring the anticipation mixed with dread building inside her. When the time finally came, Lily felt a surge of resolve. She wouldn't allow fear to dictate her decisions any longer. Standing at her mother's doorstep, she inhaled deeply, feeling the familiar ache and warmth of their shared history wash over her, settling into the marrow of her bones. The door opened slowly, revealing the expectant yet guarded expression on her mother's face. "Hi, Mom," Lily started, her voice a blend of apprehension and determination. "Hi, Lily," her mother replied, a flicker of the past dancing in her eyes.
The emotional weight in that exchange felt palpable. Secrets brewed beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to unfurl. In that instant, a rush of pressure coalesced. This was the herald of transformation. Before she had time to second-guess herself, Lily stepped forward, prepared to break the silence. "Can we talk?" But as she crossed the threshold into her childhood home, she had no idea that the truths revealed that day could overshadow even the aspirations she held for herself and for Marcus. Would the past shatter her newfound confidence, or pave the way for the future she was beginning to believe in? And what door would it open for the bond growing with Marcus? Lily stood face to face with her mother, the atmosphere thick with years of unspoken words and unresolved emotions. The small living room was a capsule of their history, decorated with reminders of happier times alongside shadows of betrayal. Drawing strength from the transformation she had recently experienced, she steeled herself to confront the turbulent past that had framed their relationship. "Mom, there's something I need to understand," she began, her voice unwavering. "You've kept so much from me. I need to know why." Her mother sat down on the couch, her hands trembling slightly. "I thought I was protecting you," she admitted, her gaze dropping to the floor. "I didn't want my past to taint your future, a future I hoped would be better than mine." "What past?" Lily pressed, feeling the weight of urgency push her words forward. With each moment of silence, the air crackled with anticipation. Her heart raced, both fearful and eager to rewrite their narrative. "I made mistakes, Lily. Your father and it was complicated. I thought by shielding you from him, I was shielding you from pain. But in doing so, I've only deepened that pain." Lily absorbed her mother's confessions, each revelation hitting her like waves crashing against a rocky shore. "I've spent years trying to rebuild, to break free from the shadows of family strife, only to find they were rooted deeper than I knew. You had a choice, Mom. You could have trusted me with the truth." "I was afraid," her mother replied, her voice catching. "Afraid you would judge me, just as I judged myself. I didn't want to fail you the way I felt."
"I've failed everyone else." These words resonated with Lily, sparking a collective reckoning they both desperately needed. "Mom, it's not too late for us. I'm trying to build a new life, one where I'm not defined by the burdens of the past. I'm working with Marcus," she added, the name hanging in the air like a bridge between their worlds. "We're creating opportunities for our community, meaningful experiences." Her mother looked up, emotion rushing to her eyes. "You're doing what I couldn't, transforming pain into something good. It's beautiful." In that moment, Lily felt a shift. It was the validation she yearned for, stripped of conflict. "Let's find healing together. We need to rebuild our relationship as much as I want to rebuild myself." Tears sparkled in her mother's eyes. "I want that too, more than you know. Maybe we can even work on something together. Find a way to honor the art in our lives just like you've been doing." The conversation turned into a tapestry of shared struggles, creativity, and promise. They began parsing through the bitterness, reframing it into something that felt lighter, almost liberating. Each laugh echoed with the energy of hope. They dared to dream of possibility together. Weeks passed, and Lily found strength not just in her familial confrontation, but in the budding professional partnership she had developed with Marcus. She watched as the projects she had envisioned began to take shape, materializing in the form of community workshops bursting with enthusiasm. Their pilot program had exceeded expectations, gathering an unexpected number of participants eager to contribute. Feedback rolled in like praise from a surprised audience. The spark of creativity ignited connections beyond mere art. In those workshops, filled with laughter and collaboration, Lily witnessed the boundaries between personal struggle and communal spirit blur beautifully. Hope flowed fluidly through each project completed, colors vibrant and alive. She had achieved something monumental. She was not just a mother struggling to provide, she had metamorphosed into a visionary. During one particularly impactful workshop, A participant approached her, wide-eyed with inspiration. "You've turned your pain into passion, and it's made us believe we can do the same." Lily felt a swell of pride, a justified recognition of her evolving identity. Every tear shed, every brave step taken, led her to this precise moment, where uncertainty had transformed into solid confidence. On the day of their culminating exhibition, the air buzzed with excitement, the energy infectious as attendees poured in to experience the fruits of their labor. Marcus stood by her side, eyes shining with respect. "You've conquered more than you realize. This is your achievement." While the audience reveled in the artistic expressions before them, Lily turned to Marcus, an undeniable connection developing between them. The barriers that once held her back now felt unrecognizable in light of her growth. Trust simmered just beneath the surface, teasing the potential for something deeper. In that moment, the culmination of her journey resonated profoundly. The legacy of her past, no longer a burden, became the impetus for change. This wasn't merely a project, it had fostered a transformation, embodying all she had fought to achieve. Lily had done more than survive. She had triumphed, and in doing so, she had established her rightful place within her new narrative, one where dreams weren't stifled by the weight of the past, but were fueled by its lessons. And as she stood amid the buzzing crowd, surrounded by the fruits of her labor, she realized she was ready to embrace whatever possibilities lay ahead, both personally and professionally. For the first time, Lily felt genuinely fulfilled, a recognition of competence radiating from within. Now was the time to soar. The storm that once threatened to drown her had become the winds beneath her wings. But to ensure you don't miss any of these remarkable stories of personal transformation, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support by clicking that like button to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts on this incredible conclusion and share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to hear these messages of hope and rebirth. Don't wait even one more second to spread the inspiration.